only one perfect solution, but there are clues that will try to trick our team.
Hello there everyone, my name is Greasy Caleb, and today we're going to be taking a look at Varicolour Flash. Continuing our way on with the flashes here, we're going to be taking a look at Varicolour Flash, and the way that you can tell Varicolour Flash from all the other flashes is this is the only one that flashes exactly 5 in the sequence. It doesn't flash any cyans, but it does flash the normal colors that you would normally get on, for example, Color Flash. However, there's only going to be 5 just different words essentially present. There's only going to be 5 different sequences that you're going to be paying attention to. So, what is this module all about? So, a Varicolour Flash module has 5 stages. Now, you might think, oh god, that sounds like it's going to be a very nightmarish or hollowing and boring experience. However, this module is actually pretty straightforward what it asks you to do. So let's get right into this. And looking at this chart, it looks very intimidating at the beginning, and this module has been known to be sort of intimidating in a way. So what's going to be happening is that we're going to be getting our sequences here, our sequence for this stage, and all we're simply going to want to do is remember the last display of each stage of sequence, where we're going to be using the information that we have from the first 4 flashes to essentially do some moving around, which I will get into in a second. So let's take a look. So let's note down the actual displays that are happening right now. We'll just wait for the pause, and I'm going to note down word and then color. So let's do magenta green, green white. I believe that was yellow green or green yellow. It was a white yellow, excuse me, green yellow, and then a blue, and a white, and then blue. So yeah, so this is what we're going to be looking at here. And now, what our first goal for the first stage is, in the first stage, the first 4 displays will lie on corners of a 4x4 subgrid of the grid below. And one important thing to note is that there are going to be 4 cells in the grid that match each of the individual displays. That's going to be important to note down. So for example, if we take a look at an example would be, for example, white, for example, we have right here, and I'm also going to mark this in black as well, just to make it easier to see. U, and there's the last one right there. So these are the 4 in this current display. None of them, no more are going to be present in the actual grid here. So this is what's important, what's important to display. So we have these 4 cells, and there's going to be 4 of every single type, every single background. And by the way, the letter means the word, represents the word, and the background represents the color, if that wasn't obvious enough. So that's what we're going to be looking at. So first things first, let's actually figure out where we are with these first 4 flashes, as these first 4 flashes are going to give us the first 4, the corners of the 4x4 subgrid, which will be our beginning position. So let's take a look. So we have magenta with the background color of green. So magenta color green, right here, right here, right here, and right here. Okay. So now, let's take a look. So next up we have word green color white. So word green color white, right here, right here, right here, and right here. Okay. And let's see if we can already form anything. It looks like we might have the magenta green up in the top left, the white green up in the top right. Now, let's see if these other 2 colors happen to match. In this case, we have a word white color yellow, which can be right here, and a word green color yellow, which in this case, this is going to be our beginning 4x4 subgrid right here. So this is where we're going to begin. So now, what exactly do we do with the 5th flash? Why is this important? So now, what we're going to do is we're going to press yes if the 5th display lies in the subgrid, or no if it does not. So now what we're looking for is a word white colored blue, which in this case, word white colored blue, does not exist within this one. It would look something like this right here, which is very close to the center, but it is not going to be present in this case. So in this case, if it happens to not be present in the subgrid, we're going to press no for this stage. And we're going to remember the last stage of each of the display sequence. For note-taking purposes, I'm actually just going to keep everything just for note-taking purposes, just to make sure that you guys can visually understand what's happening, and we can get into this later on. However, if you want to do any sort of notation, different notation, a way of noting this stuff down, please, by all means, do so. But in this case, we know for a fact that the 5th display does not lie on the subgrid, so we're going to be pressing no for this stage, and just like that, we hear that little ding. That means that that stage is correct. And now, we simply do this process over again. However, there's going to be a little bit of a different catch for for all of the rest of the stages here. The first stage is easy, trust me. So now, what exactly do we do with this? Well, let's get our next sequence, and I'll explain what we do. So we have word red color yellow, word yellow color magenta, next 2 being word white color white, magenta color white, and then yellow color green. Okay, so now, what our goal is that in all of the stages, the first 4 displays each describe a movement in an orthogonal direction that the subgrid undergoes in order. There are 4 cells in the grid, as I mentioned before, that match each of the displays, and what we need to do is we need to move in the direction that brings the subgrid closer to the cell that is furthest away from its center in that direction. And if the maximum distance from the center is not achieved in more than one direction, the subgrid does not move. So now, what is going to happen here? So first things first, let's highlight and let's take a look at our first position in the sequence, and let's highlight all the examples. So it's going to be word red, color yellow. So let's find the word reds in this case. So we have you, and you. So now I'm going to take a screenshot of this, and I hopefully am going to be able to visually explain this using the abilities of drawing, which, mind you, are very poor for me. So let's pop this up in Snip and Sketch, and let's start doing this thing. So now, what we want to do is we essentially want to focus on each of the individual colors. So let's make this, for example, red, or, purple actually was pretty good. So let's, for example, focus on each of these 4 guys here. And let's remember that this is going to be our 4x4 subgrid here. So let's just sort of do this. These will be the straightest lines I'll ever draw ever, which is really not all that good. So let's circle all of these guys. And now, what we're essentially going to do is we're going to compare the furthest distance away in each orthogonal direction, in this case being up, left, right, and down. That's what we're going to focus on. Remember, we're focusing on orthogonal, and we're only going to be focusing on one direction per individual stage, per individual sequence. So now what we want to do is we want to take a look at each of the individual flashes here, or the individual cells, and see which one, based off of the direction that we have here, is furthest away. Now, how exactly do the directions apply here? You might be thinking, to the left, wouldn't this one be the furthest away? However, that's not how this works. In this case, what we're essentially going to do is we're essentially going to compare everything to the left of this display like this. So we're simply just going to draw a straight line down here. Everything that is immediately to the left, it doesn't have to be on the same row. It is going to be compared. So in this case, you are the furthest one away to the left, which in this case is going to be a 1, 2, 3 spaces to the left. So let's mark a 3 for you. 3 spaces to the left. There is nothing on the up space, which in this case would be compared like this, because this is the topmost of the subgrid here. So in this case, nothing is furthest away in the up position. So in this case, because there's nothing on the edge, if there happens to be something on the edge, that means that they're not just going to simply mark this with a 0. This grid does not loop around, so we're going to mark you with a 0. Now to the rightmost is going to be like this. So it's going to be looking at it like this. So in this case, the rightmost is not this one that's immediately 1 space to the right. It's going to be down here at the bottom here, which in this case will be 2 spaces away. So we'll mark you as the 2. And down is going to be considered like this. Down is going to be taking not this guy over here. It's going to be taking this guy down here, which in this case is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces down to get to that position. And this is essentially what we're going to be comparing right here. So we have each individual orthogonal direction and their furthest spots away, which in this case is represented by the manual here. So as we said, we're going to try and move in the direction that brings the subgrid closer to the cell that is furthest away from its center in that direction. And in this case, we're going to try to take the one that's furthest away, which in this case would be going down, and we're going to move in that direction. Now, how many spaces will we be moving exactly? Because that's a little bit curious. So in this case, the way that we move is going to be based off of the subgrid, the actual position in the display's sequence. So in this case, it's not going to be based off of the stage that we're currently at. It's going to be based off of the position of the sequence of which we're in. So in this case, it's going to be in the first sequence. So all we're simply going to do is we're going to do this. Watch. Since this one was the furthest away in the down direction and no other direction, in this case, as we did beforehand, compares to this sort of direction here, this means that we're going to be moving down. So this means we're going to move all 4 corners of this 1 space down because of the fact that the down is the furthest direction away, and because it's also only the first in the sequence, which means we're only going to be moving 1 space down. Now, let's take a look at the next sequence, essentially. We're going to do the same thing for all four in the first sequence here, and we're essentially going to be comparing the 5th sequence later on, which I'll get into in just a minute. So now, word yellow, color magenta, right there, right there, and where's the last one? actually a corner, so we're not going to worry about that one. If it happens to be in a corner, that simply means it's going to be marked with a 0 because of the fact that it's already in the sequence, or it's just not even going to be considered because of the fact that there is no way that we're going to be happening to move to that position. So let's take a look and let's see what we can do here. So let's get rid of our highlights here real quick. So these are the 4 positions of which we're looking at. So now, if we move to the left, for example, the furthest in the leftmost is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces to the left. Because remember, we're looking from this sort of vertical line. It will be always either a vertical or horizontal line that you compare it to. So in this case, let's take another screenshot to show an example here. And I'm going to explain how the lines work a little bit better. I should have maybe used a couple different colors. So hopefully I can be able to explain this. So let's take a look here. So now, so starting off on the left here, so let's mark this as our left option here. So this means that we're going to be taking a look at everything that's the left of our subgrid. And then let's mark you as a red. Red example is going to be up. So in this case, I'm going to represent our up line. Green, for example, let's make this our right line, so it's going to be over here. And then let's make our last one. I'll also make our last one black, for example. And this is the way that we're going to essentially be comparing things. Down is going to be everything below the black line. Left is going to be everything that is past the purple line. Up is going to be everything that's past the red line. And green is going to be everything that is past the, and right is going to be past everything that's the green line. And that's going to be how we're going to count things here. So now, if we take a look at everything here, the furthest left is going to be, from our corners here, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So it's going to be 5 to the left. Which I'm going to control V for that. 5 left. Then we have up is going to be nothing, so 0 up. I'm not even going to bother considering that. Down is going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, which is meeting up with this one over here in the bottom right. That's going to be 4 to the 4 down. Excuse my drawing. That's bad. And then we have to the right of us, that's going to be a 1, 2, which in this case is going to be right down here. So it's going to be a 2 to the right. And based off of these comparisons, in this case, left is going to be our winner here because it happens to be going the furthest. So this means we're going to be moving our grid left by some amount of spaces. So in this case, since this is the second in the sequence, this means that we're going to be moving 2 spaces to the left now. So we're going to be moving you here, you right here, and just like that, we have now created our new subgrid here. So now this is how this module works. And hopefully by now with these drawings, you get and understand how this module works. But essentially what you're going to be doing is you're only going to be focusing on orthogonal directions. There's no diagonals. And most of the time you can generally tend to eyeball it. However, when we get into an example of where there's actually duplicate maximum distances, I will hopefully be able to explain that. So now let's take a look at word white, color white. Let's take a look at you guys. So it's going to be here, 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 and where's the other one? Here. Okay, so immediately taking a look, if we were to go down, the furthest one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down to this one right over here. So it'd be 5 spaces, so 5 is looking very promising. Right is going to be a 4, up is going to be 0, and left is actually going to be 0 as well, because the fact that this guy right here is already in the subgrid. So in this case, we're going to be moving down, since down is currently the furthest direction away, of which one of these cells is at. Let's move down. So let's go 1, 2, 3 spaces because this is the third in the sequence. So let's move 1, 2, 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And then finally, we're going to do word magenta color white. Word magenta color white. Bam, 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 and bam. Okay. So now, taking a look, I forgot to put you, and where's the other one? You. Okay. So now, word magenta color white. So let's take a look. So the furthest right is going to be 1, 2, 3 spaces. The furthest up is going to be 1, 2, 3 spaces. This might not be our maximum distance, but so far, 2 of them already share direction, which we don't care about if it's not the maximum distance. Down is going to take me 1, 2, 3, 4, and just like that, I told you, we don't care. It's not our maximum distance. And then if we move to the, we already moved to the right. If we move left, that's going to be 1 down to this magenta right here. This word Mike. So in this case, down is going to be our winner here. And now, since this is the fourth in the sequence, we're going to be moving down 4 spaces. So let's get rid of you guys. We don't care about you guys. And let's move down 4 spaces now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which in this case is going to move us all the way down here. So now we're done with all the movements, and what we essentially need to do is we need to check the fifth display of each sequence. And remember, we're going to be taking a look at each of the stages from beforehand as well. So in this case, it's going to be for the first stage, it's going to be 1 press, then it's going to be 2 presses, then it's going to be 3, and so on and so forth until you've completed all 5 stages. Because you're going to be comparing each of the 5th flashes for each of the previous stages. So we have word white colored blue. Do you exist? Word white colored blue. No, you do not. You're so close though. So it's going to be marked with a no in this case, since it does not appear in the subgrid. And then word yellow colored green does actually appear in here. So in this case, word yellow colored green is present within this little subgrid here. So in this case, this is going to be marked with a yes. So in this case, for this stage, we're going to be pressing no, yes. Just like that. This is a solved stage. And now we're going to continue from our original position that we left off at the last stage. So in this case, this is where we're going to leave off. And it's going to be essentially just building off of each other. And that's what you're doing for 5 individual stages. So let's go through this a little bit faster. This module does take a little bit of a while to process and understand. But once you understand that key concept that you're only looking at orthogonal directions, and that this can apply to every single column or row that is in that general direction past the subgrid, that's what you're looking for. So let's get this sequence down. So let's write down green, yellow, red, magenta, green, magenta, I believe. Green, magenta, yep, and green, green, and then red, red. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to find all of the green yellows in this case. So green, yellow. So green, yellow, you as well as you. One of them's already in the subgrid, so we don't care about that one there. Left gives us nothing. Up is going to be, I can already tell pretty much the winner here because that's up in the top right. If we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that pretty much is guaranteed to be the winner. Right takes us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in this case we don't care about down either because of the fact that it's on the this side of the grid here. So in this case we're going to be going up based off the furthest, that's the furthest direction, and in this case we're going to be moving up 1 space because it's the first in the sequence. So let's move up once for each of these individual corners. Okay, now moving on to the next stage here. So now we have word red, color magenta, right here, and right here, and right here. Okay, so word red, color magenta, in this case is going to be taking a look at left is going to be 1, 2, 3 spaces. Right is only going to be a 1, 2, 3 as well, or excuse me, that's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, my bad. And then up, up is clearly the winner right here. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which in this case is going to take us up to that top red right there. So it's 7 spaces up away from this. So in this case, that means we're going to be moving 2 spaces up because this is the second in the sequence. So far, pretty easy. But of course, there can be some nastier cases, and then you need to make sure that you just pay attention to that. So next up is going to be word green, color magenta, right here, and right here. Okay, so let's take a look. So we have 1, 2, 3 to the left. We have 1, 2, 3 down. Both of these being compared with this guy right here. Then we have 1, 2 up. Then we have 1, 2 right. Oh, here we go. So this is an example here. So in this case, we have both left and down being the exact same space, that being the exact same amount of spaces, being both the maximum distance as well. Keep that in mind. And in this case, we need to move left 3 times to get to that position, and we need to move down 3 times to get to the similar level in that case. So in this case, if the maximum distance from the center is achieved in more than one direction, the subgrid actually does not move. So in this case, we are simply just not going to move our subgrid at all. We're going to be a stubborn little boy, and we're going to be essentially not moving our subgrid at all. So essentially, this means that this is sort of voided, I guess. That's kind of the way that I would word it. But essentially, if there happens to be maximum distance that there's a tie, in this case, you are simply not going to move the grid at all because of the fact that there's no way of deciding which direction to go, essentially. There's no diagonal moving, by the way. Just to be clear, there's in no way, shape, or form will there ever be diagonal moving. It will only be orthogonal. Keep that in mind. And this isn't like Shrieks where you're going to be essentially comparing each individual direction. Like say, for example, if it were to pop up, oh, la-di-da-di-da, the Shrieks manual, optimized, by the way, highly recommend. For example, if you had like a 6-2-1 or something like that, you're not comparing each individual direction based off of the flashes here. You are essentially going to be focusing on each individual sequence that you get, and that is going to be the movement that you make. your movements will be based off each individual sequence. It will not be based off of the distance from each of the actual flashes. It will not be doing that. It's not similar like that. So that's kind of what I mean. I hope that makes sense. But essentially, you're just going to be focused on each individual sequence. And once you determine a direction that you're going, you are going in that direction, regardless of whatever you want to say. So in this case, green magenta is going to give us nothing. So we're not going to be moving at all. So now let's take a look at our last sequence for this one. Word green, color green. U, and where's the other one? U. Okay, so let's take a look here. So we have distance to the left, the furthest one is going to be U, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3 spaces away. Okay. Rightmost is going to be 1, 2, 3 spaces away. Okay. Then up is going to be 1, 2, 3 spaces away. And then down, we don't actually have anything. So in this case, this is actually another tie right here. We have 3 to the left, we have 3 to the up, and then 3 to the right. So in this case, this actually happens to be another tie. So in this case, we're not going to be moving at all. And just like that, our stage actually happens to be done already. So this is another easy case that you can get right here. So now, let's take a look at each of the 5 flashes that we had from each of the previous stages, right? So now, word white, color blue, do you exist in this little grid here? Word white, color blue. Another close example, but in this case, that's going to be representing by a no. Word yellow, color green. Nope, another close case, but nope, no cigar. And then finally, a word red. By the way, we're going to mark this with a no. Word red, color red. Oh, in this case, this does exist. So in this case, we're going to be marking a yes, because that exists within this little 4x4 subgrid. So in this case, that is good to go. So we're going to press no, no, yes, and just like that is the solved stage. So now we have, it was word green, color green, word yellow, color white, word white, color blue, magenta, color blue, yellow, color red. And now we essentially do the same thing over again. This is what this module is, and I would be explaining this a little bit faster if this wasn't a tutorial, which, you know what, I actually think I will for this next few examples here. So we have word green, color green, which we just happen to have from beforehand. So we have U, and U. Okay. Wait a minute. This is the exact same case that we had from the last example. So we know that based off of applied knowledge, 3 to the left is going to give us 3, up is going to give us 3 as well. And then we have right is going to give us 3 as well. So in this case, this is actually just not going to move at all because we had this one beforehand. It was the 4th example here, and it's the 1st example right here. So word yellow, color white in this case then. So let's highlight all of you guys. All right, so word yellow, color white. So word yellow, color white right here, right here, and where's the last one? Right there. Okay. Now let's take a look. So already from eyeballing it, right or up looks very promising. Down does not, left does not. If we go up, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces to get up there. And then if we were to go right, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this case, up is going to be our winner. It's the second in the sequence, so this means we're going to be moving up 2 spaces. Remember, the amount of directions you move is going to be based off of the position of which this specific flash that we're looking at here is in the sequence. Next up, we have word white, color blue. U, and where's the other one? There. Okay. One's already in the sequence. We don't care about you. And then, or subgrid rather. Then we have left is going to be 1, 2, 3. Right is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is going to be a tie between the right and the down. And we do not care about the other distances. It's not like a maximum distance, and then you simply just move down to move to the next one. In this case, that does not apply. It's only going to be focusing on the maximum distances. Keep that in mind. So in this case, this is going to be a tie. We're simply not going to move at all. And just like that, we're going to move on to the next stage of this one. Word magenta, color blue. Right here, right here, right here, and where's the last one? Right there, right in the corner. Okay. So now left is going to be moving twice. So 1, 2, that's the furthest one away. Up is going to be moving once. Okay. Right is going to be moving 1, 2, 3. Down is going to be moving 1, 2, not 2, 3, 4, since this one is the furthest away in the down direction. So in this case, we're going to be moving down 4 times. Let's move down to here, and just like that, we're going to fill in the rest of our corners. And just like that, we have reached the final position of our subgrid for this stage. So now let's take a look. Word white, color blue, is that present? Nope, that's not present. This one right here, one right there. Nope, it's not present in this case, so we're going to press no for this first stage. Word yellow color green. Right there, yep, that's present, so it's going to be a yes. Word red color red. I believe it just went out of our range. Yeah, it just barely did. So in this case, that's not going to be present in here. And then word yellow color red. That is word yellow color red is not going to be present in this one. So it's going to be a no, yes, no, no for this stage. And by the way, if you happen to highlight the no button without pressing it for the full duration of the sequence, it will reset the module back to stage 1. So it's going to be a no, yes, no.
No, I can't accept it. I'm not persuaded.
Oh, excuse me, my bad. Word yellow color red, it's actually present. I'm just totally blind with that. So no, yes, no, yes. And keep that in mind. That was totally intentional, by the way. Keep that in mind that it will want the previous presses again if you happen to strike, and it does immediately let you know actually when the incorrect press is. So that's one thing that's very important to know. If you happen to have some sort of immediately press, like an example would be, for example, on the 5th sequence, if you had to have no, yes, no, no, yes, for example, the second one happened to be wrong, it happened to be a no in this case, that would immediately give you a strike on the second press, and it would restart back to the beginning. It would want the first press again, so keep that in mind. So that's going to be what you're looking out for. It's just a little bit of note to self for submission. It doesn't actually reset you back to stage 1, thankfully. However, it only wants the resubmission. Yeah, pressing a wrong button will reset the input for that stage. Just keep that in mind. Just make sure that doesn't happen. It does not reset the entire module, so that's really thankful. That's totally not speaking evil nature as well either. So let's take a look at this final stage here. Yellow, green, yellow, wow, lots of yellows. And then it was a yellow, red, I believe. Word yellow, color red. Yeah, okay. Word white, color red, and then word red, color green. Okay, for our last stage here, word yellow, color green is going to be taking a look at right here, right here, right here, and the last one right there. Okay. So that's going to be in the sequence. We don't really care about you that much. It's going to be not really helpful at all. Up looks very promising from what I can already see from eyeballing it. Up looks very promising because up is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces, and none of these guys compare to that at all. So it's going to be up in this case. So we're going to be moving up 1 space, each of our corners here. Okay, and let's unhighlight all of you guys. Then next up, word yellow color magenta. Word yellow color magenta is you, you, get rid of you, and finally, where's the last one? It's already in sequence, so we're going to not care about you. So let's take a look at these last 3 that we have to compare here. So up is going to be, let's take a look. Up is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, left is going to be 1, 2, 3 with that same guy, so that's going to be at least no tie there for right now. Right is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, okay. So there is actually another tie here in this case. Because of the fact that there is, in this case, a 4 to the right of us and a 4 to the up of us. So we're not actually going to be moving all in this case. So word yellow color red will be our next position. So we don't care about this. We don't move at all. So word yellow color red will be our next thing that we look at here. One's already in the sequence. We don't care about you, you, and you right there. Okay. And from what I'm seeing, it's going to likely be another tie with the up and the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for up. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for right. Yes, this is going to be another tie. Great. We don't have to move at all. That's what you'd like to see. Okay. And then finally, for our last stage, in this case being the 4th in the sequence, word white, color red. You, and what's the last one? Oh, well, last one's in the sequence. Okay. And already there is pretty much going to be no contest with up. So there's going to be left 1, right is going to be 2, up is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No contest. There's nothing going to be happening at down either, so we do not care about that. Remember, we do not loop around in this grid at all, so just keep that in mind, and we will be good to go. So since this is 4th in the sequence here, we're simply going to be moving up 4 spaces for each of our corners here. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these guys are right here as well. And just like that, we have our final subgrid right here. So now, let's compare our 5th colors for each of the previous stages, and this one as well, and let's take a look at what we need to press for this final stage. So word white, color blue. And let's make sure I don't mess up like I did beforehand, which was totally intentional. Word white, color blue. Yes, word white, color blue is indeed present in the sequence, so we're going to be pressing yes for this position. Word yellow, color green. Word yellow, color green. Yes, that is also present here, right here. So word yellow, color green is going to be another yes. Word red, color red. So close, but no cigars. That's going to be a nope. That's a no for that one. Word yellow, color red. Another close case, but that's going to be a nope. So that's going to be no for that one. And finally, word red, color green. That is indeed present. Word red, color green is going to be a yes, and this will be our final submission for this module. So yes, yes, no, no,
Is the right
yes.
answer.
And just like that is a solved module. Uh, that's pretty much all I'm going to cover for you guys today because that is a very long module. But trust me, once you understand how the orthogonal directions essentially work, this module will be pretty straightforward. For the first stage, you find the 4 corners, and then for the rest of the stages, you're going to be moving around the sequence of the grid. That's it for you guys. As always, stay crazy, stay cool, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.